How do people pick brand colors? More importantly, how can you pick brand colors for a brand that you're creating or perhaps your own personal brand? And then equally, just as important, how do you use those colors effectively and correctly for the brand or the color scheme that you're creating? What's going on, everybody? My name is Joe Hurst. I am a freelance logo and brand identity designer, and today I want to break down the process that I use for my client projects when I'm creating color palettes for logos and brands, and then how I apply those color palettes to the brand. So I just want to preface this with saying that typically I personally don't even get involved in color usually until after the logo design process or late in the logo design process, for even the design of things like business cards, other stationery, marketing materials, packaging, etc. takes place. Now, every designer is going to go about this differently. I personally find it easier to begin in black and white and then move to color in the late stages of the logo design process and move things forward that way. You may have a completely different way about going about this, and that's totally fine. But I'm just going to share with you the way that I do it, and hopefully it helps you guys in picking color, applying that color, and using it for brands that you design. So before colors can effectively be chosen, of course, you need to sit down with the client, have a meeting with the client, and understand the brand voice, values, etc. This is part of your discovery session that you should have with the client, because understanding these things and what the client or what the project is trying to achieve is most important. You'd really struggle to find colors for, say, a pharmacy if you didn't really know too well what the client was trying to achieve with their pharmaceutical brand. With that being said, I typically move to Google or Pinterest for some quick image capturing. I look on Google for things like industry trends, what doesn't work in the market, etc. And then I move to Pinterest. Sometimes I'll create quick little mood boards on Pinterest or a collection for me to reference later. Once I've gathered up a plethora of images, colors, and kind of got a feel for the type of brand or the direction that we're moving in, I usually download those, save them in a client folder somewhere, and then I start creating mood boards, which is where I move over into Adobe Express. Now, Adobe Express has this super awesome feature where you can create social posts, but I typically use their 1080 by 1080 template as a mood board to just throw images into really quickly. And then once I've arranged the images, kind of got a feel for the mood board that I want to create, or sometimes multiple mood boards, more often than not, it's a couple of mood boards. What I do from that point is I will export, save my mood boards, export them, pull them over into Illustrator, and start collecting colors from those. Once I have my mood boards created, typically take them into Illustrator, and I'll begin creating color palettes of around about 6 colors per palette for the brand. I feel like 6 is a good number. 5 is a pretty decent number. I think 4 is probably where you want to be at the minimum. And while I'm selecting my colors, I'm moving from usually a light shade to a darker shade, or I'm moving from a light tone to a darker tone. There's a lot of things to take into account when picking different colors and palettes to work with. You obviously want to pick colors that work well together. These might be complementary colors, monotone colors, or something else. What's important to take into account when actually choosing the colors is that you are sticking within what's recognizable and applicable to the industry. So you wouldn't pick something like red typically for a financial institute. If you would pick red, you'd probably pair it heavily with blue and maybe have a red accent in the logo. Red is typically known for excitement, danger, vibrance. The last thing that you'd want to do is try and associate danger or excitement with just general banking. So making sure that you understand color theory and the emotion behind color is crucially important to picking the correct colors for the brand or the design that you're creating. More often than not, you see things like browns, earth tones, greens, pale blues, etc. for healthy or exciting brands, usually fitness brands or active brands. And the reason for that is because you associate colors like greens, browns, and earth tones with nature and more healthy and fresh vibrant options. Once I've started grounding my colors in for the industry that I'm working on, then and only then do I typically start applying it to the logo or certain elements that might be produced in the future for the brand. And the reason that I do this is because I want to just make sure that they'll work well together in actual real use scenarios. Now, you've picked all of your colors, you have a great color palette going, but how do you use these colors? This is where I see a lot of designers get confused, or personal brands that don't particularly understand how to use color. Well, a good rule of thumb to follow is the 60-30-10 rule, and that is your primary brand color is going to be used 60% of the time on things that you design, or on 60% of the material that you have. For your secondary or complementary brand color, you're going to be using that approximately 30% of the time, or on 30% of the design that you are creating. And then last but not least, your accent color or your tertiary color. Typically, this is something that will be used to call attention, draw the eye to it, or create disruption in the design that you are creating. Of course, this is more of a loose rule of thumb. You can deviate from this at any point in time, or break it down into primary, secondary, and tertiary color palettes within your main color palette. That's a little bit more advanced for applying colors in that way, so perhaps leave that for another video. Hopefully this video has helped you out and helped you understand how to go about selecting and applying color palettes for your logo designs, brand designs, or perhaps just the design that you're working on in general. If this video was helpful to you, I would hugely appreciate a thumbs up to let me know and the YouTube algorithm know that this was helpful and interesting to you. Feel free to hit that subscribe button. It's free and you can unsubscribe at any time. Till next time, I will see you later.